What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Content is Profit. Today, I just came out of an incredible call with one of our partners, I guess. So we've been sending them connections. He's been sending connections to us, and it was a pretty unique event that happened over Zoom. And it had this massive realization of one, the question is why we so afraid to meeting new people, and I'll explain why. And later, the number one hack that doesn't rely on social media or content algorithms for your business and your content growth. So we're going to be talking about that, the story, obviously, of what happened. We're going to give some examples of how big brands are using this hack or strategy, or however you want to call it. And we're also going to see at the very end on how can you apply it if you have a B2C business or a B2B business. With that, guys, welcome to the show. All right, so earlier today, I was in this call with our good friend and business partner, Adam. Adam has an incredible community. He's an incredible podcasting coach. We've met him in a couple of events already, but he came to our show a long time ago, and every time we go to podcasting or content events, we see him there, and he's always seemed that everybody in the conference wants to meet this guy, and they go and they have one-on-one conversations. He's very, fond of pouring everything and kind of giving all the information and helping people, and he's amazing. And he has a pretty unique strategy too, which, by the way, he came to a show not so long ago talking about his leveraging Threads and not other social media channels to grow not only his podcast, but his newsletter and his business. And I received an email from him a couple of days ago saying, "Hey, Luis, I'm doing this online event. I would love for you to be a part of it. It's my vetted collaboration." And I'm like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And I'm, you know me, I'm down for any kind of collaboration. So anyways, I filled out my form. I jumped on, and that was maybe a couple hours ago. So I jumped on this Zoom room, and there's probably 8 to 10 other people. And Adam had this incredible schedule planned out. Everybody had, it was a set, and I'm not going to share kind of the structure of the call, but I'll tell you, it was very well organized. We kept it under an hour, which was very good. And every single person there got not only referrals, but collaborations and business opportunities. So great value add. If you want to be a part of that, reach out to Adam Shelby. You're going to see the links right below, or you can go to his episode a long time ago. So after this, I'm just sitting there reflecting. I'm looking at the sheet that he shared with everybody, where we will put kind of either referrals or things and, what people are looking for. And I'm like, wow. First of all, what an incredible event. What an incredible solution, right? And also, what a way to add value. And lastly, I'm getting at least 10 referrals, not only for the show, but also for the business. Everybody's putting names in there, collaborating on the sheet. And obviously now the connections have to be made. But for the longest time, people, or the feedback that I've been getting here in studio, where people trying to create content, maybe you listening feel the same way, is that content is almost like this alone game. I got to do it by myself, and I got to put my message out there and see on the other side who's watching or who's listening, and then hopefully they'll come in here. And not so long ago, too, I listened to this interview where one of the guests was complaining about the algorithms, and we have to do what works and what not. And I don't know how I felt about that. This platform wants us to be producing content in their platforms because, they sell advertisement, and we are the business model. They want us there. They want us creating. So it makes no sense that these platforms are putting blocks on you, or the algorithm is putting blocks on you for not to create content. So with that in mind, right, if this platform wants us to create content and put our message out there and kind of help us do, number one step is our message decent? Can people do that? But anyways, that's a conversation for a different topic. That's a conversation for a different day. But regardless of that, if your message is good, bad, whatever, maybe you're not looking at it, you're not talking to anybody on the other side. Maybe it's 2 people, 1 people, which, by the way, 1 person, incredible, right? There's still a way that you can grow your business and grow your content without any of that. And that's the exciting part, because that was the realization. I'm like, man, I feel like we've been doing that on our side since episode 20 when we first started guest And that number one hack is collaborations, connecting with other people. That's what social media is, connecting with other people. So why are we chasing 1,000 followers? Why are we chasing 1,000, 5,000 subscribers, right? If the message resonates, great. And we're going to learn from the analytics and we're going to learn from the data so our message can help more people, right? If that's the priority. Are we helping somebody else solving the problem? So number one. So this number one hack, that's basically it. There's people there in that room and in many rooms that we've been involved with, including ourselves, that they've grown their businesses not because they're putting out all this content and attracting the masses and going viral, but it's because they connect with the right person. And content is a great vehicle or excuse to connect with that person, right? So if you have a podcast, if you have, YouTube channel, if you have reels, how can we use content as a vehicle to collaborate and create these connections? It reminds me of a quote that Alex Hormozi said a while back. It's like, you should be doing the unscalable, and in our specific case, it's like, how do I connect with my ideal client or my ideal persona? Where are they? And start bringing them into my platform and collaborating in a unique way for them that adds value for them, and then establish a conversation after that. So the reason this shocks me is because when I put this idea out there, either they go to one side where it's like super salesly, be like, okay, yes, I'm only going to connect with that person because I want to sell them. I'm like, no, that person might be a referral source. That person might be a partner. That person might be an affiliate opportunity. That person might be a few options if we get very creative. So how do we change the script and we start thinking about how do we collaborate in a genuine way? So I think that's a different there. So with Adam, is that way. He built a ton of value. He collaborated with 10 other creators in the space that some of them were customers already. Some of them might be becoming customers. Some of them are partners like us, right? And he added so much value that I'm going to keep him in mind and sending people his way as we go through. So guys, this is happening all over social media. If you go online, you're going to be seeing that brands are collaborating with creators, right? Obviously with the audience. And we're going to go into specifics of B2C and B2B content. Think about your local shop, right? I think in small businesses, there's a lot of opportunity there where you can collaborate with other shops that have your ideal customers. There was a campaign that we ran for a local wellness center here. We're like, okay, who buys here? Who's the person that's buying your services or your memberships, right? And describe this persona. Well, it turns out that persona is also going to a certain gym, like a fitness studio or a Pilates studio. And then they shop and they do groceries in a certain type of supermarket. So we went out and we looked for 6 different partners that doesn't compete with our product, but that our client also purchases from them. And we ran a quick email. We connected. We did some lives. We did some, we brought them. We included our current customers and we ran that promotion. And guess what? They had 300 booked appointments in a weekend. So how do we find these pockets of where our people are and how do we bring them into our platform for that specific business? Their platform was not a podcast. It was Facebook and email. So where's your platform? For us is podcasting, right? You see collaborations like these on YouTube all the time. Creators, that's one of the best ways for them to grow their channels. If I'm a smaller creator, I'm going to try to find a slightly bigger creator or same size and bring together in a concept of a video in my platform. And then that way they can expose, they can share that experience with their audience and we mix them up. So for them, that's their business model, right? The audience is a business model because they sell advertising and promotions and sponsors into their content, right? MrBeast does this all the time. It's interesting because all the people that he brings to his videos, they're also creators. There's some kind of promoters. So now let's say he has 100 people in his videos, then they're all documenting the experience. And I've seen some of these videos where the people that are participating in the challenge, they do kind of like a challenge, walkthrough, or review kind of content. And all those new eyeballs are going to levitate not only for them, but also for MrBeast. Another example, Yes Theory. I just watched a video. Yes Theory, if you haven't watched them on YouTube, is incredible. Them and 9 other creators collaborated with Formula E, which is, the racing series with electrical vehicles that go faster than F1 cars, which is crazy. So they brought 10 creators to put them through this experience and give them free reign for them to create, creators and celebrities, for them to document this experience and put it out there so they can grow their channels and eventually the sports, right? So super cool. So now the question, as we start to wrap up, how many minutes are we in? 10 minutes. Okay, good. Fast and furious today. Is okay. How can you apply this into your B2C or your B2B, right? And I think it can be both sides. So number one, you're a creator. The belief of your career. Somebody asked me earlier, especially because we're launching Business Creator Club. If you're not part of it, Business Creator Club, businesscreator.club. Come join us, because May 12th, by the time of the release of this episode, maybe we're already doing the challenge, 17-day challenge. But anyways, you are a creator. You're the one in your platform, right? If you're a bigger company, who are your creators? Who are the ones creating the content? Who are the ones on the podcast episodes, right? You are a creator that's sharing a message, yes, to an audience. That's going to grow with time. But right now, like, how do we focus on developing the relationships to bring in? So let's say for B2C, okay, what is the one relationship that you can collaborate with in your platform that can give you access to 100 customers, 1,000 customers, and so on? So we had a call, I think it was like sometime last year, where we're explaining our framework on how do we connect with people here in the podcasting world. How do we monetize our show? And the person was like, well, that's really awesome. The system looks amazing, but you are also selling a high ticket item. And my product is a book. I'm like, perfect. This is great. This is exactly what we're looking for. So who is somebody that has access to 1,000 of your customers? And we started brainstorming, and we came up with 10 different names of people that maybe she knew, or people maybe that she could reach out to. And one of those was the director of a library and then the principal of one of the schools. And it just so happens that her book was, the topic was relevant to those two audiences. So she immediately connected with them. They came into the show. They had a great conversation topic-wise about the topic that the show was all about. That's helping the audience on one side. But then those two, they established a connection, and they were like, hey, how can we collaborate together? And I have a few ideas. And those ideas could be, hey, I'm going to show up in the library, do a couple of workshops based on the book. Or, hey, I'm going to go to the school and we can do this activity. Like, how can we get creative with that? Well, it turns out that the school was a great fit, and she was able to get 1,000 book purchase order, right? So how can we start getting creative of like, okay, maybe my ideal collaboration is not with the person that's going to buy my low ticket item product, for example, right? But it's like a layer on top of that. Who has access to them? That can be another business. That can be another newsletter. That can be so on, so on, so. So if you create short form content, perfect. How can you create short form content with that person? So then maybe they introduce that piece of content to their audience, or maybe you guys, after shooting, you guys talk and be like, hey, can we do something together? Maybe we can throw in a workshop. Maybe we can do XYZ. And that activity brings in the leads for you. On B2B, it's very similar. It's just that person is a way higher ticket. So I'll give you another example. This person, only sales guy in the company, owner of the company. They have another fulfillment team. They auctioned buildings. So for him, an average sale was $1 million. And the conversation that we had was like, okay, how confident are you that we can find 52 conversations where you can close them, like warm leads, right? And the person is like, well, I think that's very possible. I'm like, okay, cool. What's your closing percentage, right? And for him, it was 80% because he invested a lot of time in those relationships and so on. Well, what if we can guarantee 52 of those conversations once a week for those keeping track, right? And he's like, oh man, that will be amazing. So all we needed was a system. And that guy wanted to be on social media. And there might be some examples on how can you document on social media the auctioning of these buildings. But I think on my side, it falls into the entertainment bucket, not the educational bucket. So people might be, oh, that's super cool. But this chance of somebody watching a YouTube video that could buy a building, very, very, very small. So we got to talk and we got to connect with the decision makers. So in that specific case, this guy, we proposed the idea, and the idea was, hey, let's start a podcast because you like to be on camera. You like to talk about these things, and literally it could be any topic, right? Any topic. And you can bring the 52 leads. They might be warm leads on your pipeline. They might be prospects in your pipeline, any level really. Have a conversation about that topic. And then from that, let's move the conversation and be like, hey, how can we collaborate? So collaboration number one is the show itself, like the creation of the piece of content that goes out for purposes of education, entertainment. The second piece to the collaboration is like that question. How can you and me collaborate and move this to the next and take it to the next level? How can we do something together? And for that specific business was a luncheon or a meeting with different people, or like, how can they continue the conversation? Right. Unfortunately, that was, and I laugh because it's hilarious. The fact that the timing, not what happened, but that they were located in New Orleans. Hurricane came in a couple of months ago and they lost the building. So we checked on them. They're okay. Nobody got hurt. And then they rebuilt the building and we lost track of them. So, but that was the initial conversation. I was like, man, like this is a no-brainer. If we had this business, maybe we should be doing that. Last example with this as well. This is a mix of consumer with B2B. We have a guy that comes here to the studio. He has a product to clean exotic cars. So he comes in, first episode, he does it by himself. He's explaining, he's talking about the stories. And then we're like, you know what would be cool if you bring like maybe 2 of your customers and maybe 2 of the people that, you know, you're, that you want to, you know, connect with, maybe distributors. And you guys don't talk about the product at all. Like the product is there, but what about car stories, right? Because they're all car fanatics, right? That's what they did. They came in and the 4 of them ripped about cars for about 2 hours, right? And they talked about it. They laughed. The relationship that, you know, it was built there was awesome. As soon as I opened that door, they're all shaking hands like, yeah, let's meet up for lunch tomorrow. Let's do this. And oh, by the way, bring your cars for this event that's happening next weekend. And that's how relationships are formed. And I checked in a week later with Scott. Shout out to Scott. And I'm like, dude, how did that happen? I'm very curious. I'm like, yeah, we landed a couple meetings. We're working on a new distribution deal that we have going on. And it was amazing. So don't forget the collaborations. And then we can go into events because the other layer to this, and I have to start wrapping this up, but the other layer to this is leverage events to find those collaborations. Because that's where people are like, how do you find these people? Well, you know, you can start asking the people that you already know, be like, do you know so-and-so? I'm looking for this specific type of person, right? Name your dream customers, for example. But when you go to events, all those ideal customers are in that one location. So leverage to start booking the appointments and be like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Hey, do you want to do a YouTube video together? Hey, do you want to do a Facebook Live together? Hey, do you want to collaborate on my newsletter? Do you want to be a guest writer in my newsletter? There's many ways that you can collaborate with content. If you have any questions on that side, please go to businesscreator.club. That's what we talk about every single week. We bring experts that come and explain to us in very simple ways on how to do this and move the needle forward. We also have Q&As where we can tackle all these topics. So don't miss out on the #1 growth hack, which doesn't have to do anything with your algorithms, but instead with actual real relationships and how we can start building and create them. So this is a topic that's dear to my heart. I thank you, Adam, for inviting me into your incredible activity. And I hope, you know, if you're listening and you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can go to businesscreator.club or you can go to our Facebook group, Content is Profit Facebook group, and we answer questions in there as well. So happy to answer those questions and collaborate. And if you're in Jacksonville, send me a DM. We'll meet up. We'll chat in the studio. With that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning to the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and follow the show and follow us on social media at BizProsCo. Take care.